All right, so good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, no, to all of you. Today, no, I will discuss more about the FS analysis, no. So how do you analyze and interpret your FS, no, your statement, no, in terms of your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flow, no. So we will discuss more about how you will analyze or how you will interpret the data. Okay. So how do we interpret your data, no? So very important here is to know first, no, or to introduce first the significance of financial statements, no, particularly for balance sheet, income statement, your cash flow, and also any changes in the stockholders' equity. Okay. Later also we'll discuss about the various concepts, no, of your analysis. For example, the vertical analysis, the horizontal, and more on the ratio analysis. But my focus now is more on the ratio analysis. Okay, maybe the other video, no, will discuss more about the vertical and at the same time the trend analysis. Okay, and also very important also is to have no working knowledge, no, of common ratios, and also about to be familiar with the DuPont model, no, analysis. Okay, and the last one, of course, to appreciate the concept of good governance and accountability. Okay, sige. So we go first with the concepts, no? Okay. I will ask you a question, no? Tanungin ko kayo, no? How rich are you, no? Gaano ba kayo kayaman now, no? So very important here before you will analyze the FS, no? My question, how rich are you? Yung iba, of course, if you have more wealth, no? More money, all right? Or you are more rich, no, in terms of your friends or dami mong kaibigan, no? So, in terms of your FS, no, very important here that as part of the concepts or how rich are you, no, very important first is to distinguish or to discuss first what do you mean of balance sheet. No? Now it is called statement of financial position. No? Okay. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng balance sheet? 'Di ba? As we all know, the balance sheet is your assets, liabilities, and your owner's equity. No. So we go back to these accounting equations. No, we're in. Your assets is always equal to your liabilities and owner's equity. Di ba, class? Yan yung ating discussion lagi, no? That our assets is always equal to your liabilities and equity. Assets, they are resources owned and controlled, no, by individual or by companies. Liabilities is a utang or debt, okay, or obligations to pay. And you have your equity, that's your net assets or net worth. All right. So meaning to say, no, as part of these accounting equations, asset is equals to liabilities plus owner's equity, no. So ito yung sample, no, the sample of a typical balance sheet, no, wherein you have your assets, liabilities, and your owner's equity, no. So pag sinabi class, no, that in terms of your assets, no, very important here is you have your cash, you have your receivables, and you have your inventory, no? And all in all, that would be your total current assets, no? If you have 50,000, you have 600,000, you have 250, all in all, the total of 900,000, okay? We have also here your property, plant and equipment, and you have your investment. So all in all, your total assets is 3.9. And also class, you have also here what you called liabilities and your owner's equity. So ano naman class yung ating liab and owner's equity? Of course, you have your accounts payable, you have your accounts or other payables, no? And we have your long-term debt and we have our capital stock. It is now called ordinary shares, no? So as you all know, no? Your assets is always equal to your total liability and your owner's equity, na? Yan ang laging nating we need to remember that your assets is always equal to your liabilities. Okay, next one. Uh, what do you mean of income statement? As we all know, the income statement is your statement of performance or the statement of profit or loss or statement of comprehensive income. 'Di ba? Yan naman yung meaning natin, no, ng ating income statement, no? So example of an income statement is like this, no? A typical income statement wherein you have your sales of 1.2, you have your cost of sales of 940,000, you have your gross profit of 260, and we have our OPEX, no, of your selling, and we have our administrative expenses, and we have your earnings before interest and taxes, then we have your interest and taxes, and all in all, that would be your net income, no? Again, the typical income statements that you have your sales, you have your cost of sales, you have your gross profit, and up to your net income. And that would be your typical income statement. Okay. So again, as part of the equations, no, particularly for your income statement, no, very important here is that we should remember that revenue minus cost is equals to your profit. 'Di ba? Yan naman yung lagi natin ginagawa, no? Wherein your revenue minus cost is equals to your profit. Okay. So, but before that, no, very important also that we also know the concept of operating cycle. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng operating cycle? Now, it is the time we're in. You have your cash, then you purchase inventory, then you sell your inventory. It would depends whether it is based on account or through account or through sales. No, if it is through account, you have your account receivable, and eventually it will become cash. And that would be the operating cycle of the merchandising. No? Manufacturing naman, you have your cash, then you purchase inventory or direct materials, then it will be converted to work in process, then it will become part of the finished product. Then cost of goods sold. Okay? Then, depende pa rin if you will sell it based on or through cash or through account receivable. So after that one, it will be converted to cash. No? All in all, the resulting factor is about or the pinaka last, no, destination is your cash, and that would be your operating cycle. Okay, so meaning to say, no, so how do we determine your operating cycle as discussed kanina? So paano yung class? So very important here, if in terms of your merchandising, you have your cash, you have your alpha, then you purchase your merchandise inventory and you sell it, and that would be your account receivable, and it will end with collections of cash, alpha and omega. Okay, again, cash, you have your merchandise inventory, then you sell it, no, and then it will become part of your sales, then your AR, then it will be or you will collect cash. Okay, so in terms of the operating cycle, no, very important here to know the inventory turnover, the AR turnover. Okay, we go back to our definitions of inventory turnover. So if you will compute for the inventory turnover, you have also here what you call days in inventory. Sa Tagalog, ano ba yung inventory? Gaano ba kadalas ka magbenta ng inventory? Of course, inventory turnover, mas maganda, mas mataas, no? The higher, the better. But the days in inventory, the lower, the better. Meaning to say, the lower, the better, uh, your inventory will eventually become part of your sales. Then you have also here your account receivable turnover. That would be how effective is the organizations, no, about collections, and that would be the account receivable turnover or your days in receivable. So as we all know, the operating cycle can be computed as days in inventory plus your days in receivable, and that would be your formula. Okay. So in terms of this, no, consider this. No, you have your balance sheet and income statement. Alright. So as you know, as you all know, no. So very important here as the balance sheet and the income statement, no. So compute first for our cost of sales divided by inventory, and that would be your inventory turnover. No, just divide the cost of sales by inventory, which is 940 of your cost of sales, just divided by the 250 of the inventories, and you have 3.76. And after that one, you will compute for the inventory conversion, which is your number of days, no, the 60 days divided by 3.76, and you have 95.74 days. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng 95.74 days? Meaning to say, that's the time wherein your inventory will be converted to sales. Sa Tagalog, yan yung gaano ano yung araw na mabebenta mo ang inventory mo sa sales. Napakatagal, di ba? 95.74 days. It takes almost 3 to 4 months. Good or bad? The answer is it would depends. Depende yan, class, no? Depende yan. If you are into a retail, pangat yan, no? It takes 3 months, no? Para maging sales, no? Dapat, if you are naman a jewelry or high value items, okay, okay siya, no? Again, it would depends on the company. Okay. You have also here what you call your sales and receivables. Ano to, class? That would be your AR turnover. No? So, ibig sabihin, you have 1.2 divided by 600,000, you have 2 times. No? So, ibig sabihin, the 60 days divided by 2, that would be 180 days. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, almost 6 months. Okay, almost 6 months ka makakapag-collecta. Good or bad? Again, it would depends on the company. Okay? If you are retailer, if you are San Miguel, or if you are pangat ito, class, no? 6 months ka makakapag-collecta. Nako, ang tagal niyan. Okay? So, I'm going to say, no? Operating cycle can be computed as inventory turnover. In inventory, no? You have 95.74. You have your AR, account receivable, days in receivable, 180 days. And also we have operating cycle is equal to days in inventory plus days in receivables. All in all, you have 275.74 days. Napakatagal niya, no? Malapit na mag-isang taon. And that would be your operating cycle. If you are a retailer, wholesaler, pangat yan, ha? Napakapangat, as in. If you are naman, jewelry or big company or high value items, okay siya, no? Alright, next one. Liquidity. What do you mean of liquidity? Liquidity is ability by the company to convert your assets to cash. Cash, no? Ibig sabihin, how effective are you, no? In order for you to have more cash. Cash is king, particularly in your business. Okay. So, consider our typical balance sheet, no? So, ito yung ating balance sheet natin. Your assets, your liabilities and owner's equity. As discussed kanina, 'di ba? Ito yung kanina, no? You have your 3.9. Okay. So, typical balance sheet is that you just compute for your current ratio. Now, how do we compute for our current ratio? That would be your current assets divided by your current liabilities. Okay? Meaning to say, current assets 900,000 plus receivables plus inventory, and you have 900,000 just divided by 700,000, your current liabilities. Ibig sabihin, you have 1.28 as your current ratio. Maganda ba to? Okay siya, no? Since it is more than 1, no? Mas malaki yung current assets mo with your current liability. Ibig sabihin, you can pay for your utang, for your current liabilities, no? 1600,000 is more than the 700,000. Kaya lang, class, if you notice, majority is receivables and you have your inventory. But if you will compute for the asset test ratio or quick asset ratio, the only thing that you will consider is cash and receivables and marketable securities lang. Hindi kasama yung inventory. My question, no? Why is it that inventory is not included in the asset test ratio? Because inventory is the assets we're in. You cannot be able to sell, no, on time. May mga time na matagal kang maibenta yung ating inventory kasi tamad ang ating taga-sales. Diba? Meaning to say, only your cash and also your receivables and short-term investment are more liquid than your inventory. Just divide it by your current liabilities and you have 650,000 divided by 700,000. Class, ang pangit na, no? 0.92 na, no? Ibig sabihin, 650 would be your receivables and cash and yung utang natin is 700. Ibig sabihin, pwedeng we are risky, no, in paying for our obligations if we will consider your asset test ratio. Okay, next one. What do you mean of leverage? Okay, leverage ay utang, no? Uh, for example, you have your weight, no? Okay, then after that one, you have your lever. Okay, then eventually you have your fulcrum, no? Para magbalanse, no? And then you have your equity, sales, and your FINMAN, financial management. Okay, meaning to say class, we need to balance, no? Because you have your sales, at the same time you have your equity. Okay, so meaning to say, if you have your weight in fulcrum or lever, no? Because of our FINMAN, no, you can be able to balance it, no? Paano kung pahabain pa natin, no? And that would be your debt, nako. Uh, So, ganun lang, no? So, we go to this one. Ito yung pinaka-okay because you have your equity, balanse pa tayo, you have your sales. Pero if you have naman debt, pinahaba mo pa yung problema natin. Ibig sabihin, you will pay for your debt. At the same time, you will also pay for the principal. And that would be the concept of leverage. Ibig sabihin, you should be able to pay your obligations on time. Okay? Kailangan mo mabayaran. Alright. Next one, what do you mean of solvency? No? Klase pag sinabing solvency, it is what you call going concern. Ability by the company to survive in a long period of time. No? Company will exist indefinitely. Okay. For example, typical balance sheet. Ito, ulit-ulit lang, di ba? You have your cash, your receivables, inventory, you have your PPE, investment, and other liabilities. Okay? So, all in all, you have your 3.9 and you have 3.9. Okay? So, yan. Ulit lang. Okay? So, what if naman you have your deficit of, instead of retained earnings of 200,000, what if you have deficit of 200,000? And yes, you have still the balance, no? Meaning to say, because of the deficit, no, of the 200,000, we are risky, no? Ang pangit ito class, no? Mas okay that you have a retained earnings. Okay? And also, we have here what you call long-term debt. Tumaas pa yung ating utang, no? From 2 million to 2.4. Okay? Yan. So, all in all class, because of your long-term debt, no? We are risky, particularly for paying for our obligations, no? So, tumaas lang yung 400 mo. Alright, so yan. Ibig sabihin tayo ay nangutang, no? Particularly for our 3.9. Okay. Yan. So, ito yung kanina, no? Alright, naulit to. What if naman is ganito? Long-term debt is 2.4. Then you have your common stock and also we have your 1.4. Mas pangat ng class, no? Particularly if lumalaki yung ating deficit. Okay? Yan. Okay, so next one. Typical balance sheet, no? That would be your current ratio. Parang naulit na to kanina, no? Current assets divided by your current liabilities. Ito yung kanina, no? Okay. So, next one naman is all about a typical income statement, no? You have your sales, you have your cost of sales, you have your gross profit, then you have your OPEX, and you have it. So, ito yung kanina, di ba? Okay. So, compute first for the times interest earned. How do we compute for times interest earned? That would be your EBIT, which is 100,000, no? Divided by 30,000 is your interest, no? So, again, anong formula ng times interest earned? That would be your interest or income before interest and taxes divided by your interest. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng 3.33? Or ano bang ibig sabihin ng times interest earned? Pag sinabi class times interest earned, it is the ability by the company to pay for the interest. Na? Kaya-kaya ba ng company na makabayad ng interest? Yung example natin, if you have 100,000 as part of the EBIT, yes, you can be able to pay because the only interest or the interest is 30,000 pesos. Okay? Alright. Next one. The concept of turnover. Now, ano yung turnover? Ibig sabihin, how the company use their assets, use their assets, your AR, your inventory, in converting to sales. No? Ito yung turnover, di ba? If you notice last, tayo ay gumagamit ng assets, gumagamit tayo ng resources in order for us that it will become part of, sorry, sales. Yes. And that would be your turnover. Okay. So, how turnover creates more income. Sabi ko nga, no, hindi lang income but more on revenue. No? Okay, number one, restaurant at full capacity with no room for expansion. Ibig sabihin, no number of dining seats, you have 50. Sale per diner an hour is you have 100. No? So, if you have full capacity, makano yung revenue mo? 100 times 50 is you have 5,000. Revenue at half an hour, 5,000 times 2, you have your 10,000. Revenue in terms of quarter is you have 5,000 times 4 times 20,000. No? So, meaning to say, class, as part of your turnover, how effective are you in converting your assets or using your assets in converting or to become part of your sales. No? So, you will compute for the revenue per hour, you compute for the half an hour, which is 2, no, or you have 10,000 and revenue per quarter. So ganun na klase again, you turn over how effective are you in using your assets in converting to cash or sorry, in converting to sales. We have also here what you call profitability. Alright, so pag profit naman, more on profit, and that would be your return on assets and return on equity. Class, ito yung tinatawag nating DuPont model, no? So in terms of our ROA and ROE, ano yung lagi mong numerator is your net income, no? ROA, of course, net income divided by your assets. On equity naman, net income divided by your stockholders equity. All right. So, meaning to say, no, in calculating for the ROA or ROA is like this, no? You have your cash, receivables, you have inventory, you have your PPE, no? So, how do you compute for the ROA? Net income divided by our total assets. So, you have your 49,000 divided by 3.9, and that would be your total assets. So, ibig sabihin, you have 1.25% of your return on assets. No? You have also here return on equity, net income, divided by stockholders' equity, 49,000 divided by 1.2, and you have 0.04%. Okay, so madali lang, di ba? ROE, net income divided by your investment, ROA yun, no? And ROE, net income divided by stockholders' equity. Okay? So how do we compute for the DuPont analysis, no? So ROE, net income divided by stockholders' equity times assets and assets. So ROE class, net income divided by assets, that will be ROA times your asset stockholders equity, no? And that would be your equity multiplier. So how do you compute for the ROE? The ROA to be multiplied by the equity multiplier. Ibig sabihin, class, it is just like, no, how we will be able to uh, ano man tawag doon, to analyze, no, the DuPont analysis. Yes. Also, class, you have here, no, ROE naman is you have your net income divided by your sales, no. You have also here to be multiplied by your sales and your assets, and also you have your assets divided by your equity, and that would be your return on assets, right? And next one, so how do you compute for the ROE? No, net income divided by your sales times sales and assets, and to be multiplied by the assets and equity. So ibig sabihin, how do we compute for the DuPont model? That would be your profit margin to be multiplied by the asset turnover and to be multiplied by the equity multiplier. Okay? So, ganun lang ha. Particularly in computing for the return on equity. Yan. So, next one, no? So, next meeting, no? So, in my next video, no? I will discuss about the eyeball technique, no? Of the FS analysis. Quick and dirty way of analyzing the FS. It was developed by my professor, no? In Ateneo, Prof. Eli Aureliano, no? So, I enhanced this one, no? Eyeball technique developed by Prof. Eli Aureliano, and I enhanced, no? This one. So next video, I will discuss more about the eyeball technique. So again, thank you very much and see you soon. Bye bye.